Welcome to the Fantasy Football Bros podcast, a new podcast where two brothers argue over fantasy football. Da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, Fantasy Bros! Okay, so this is our first show. I am your host, Dylan Wagella, along with my co-host,
Mitchell Wagella, his brother.
And just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about ourselves. I'm a teacher out here in Arizona, and Mitchell is a
salesman at realtor.com.
Okay, so we got a lot on the agenda today, but first thing I wanted to talk about was some news. An update on Corey Davis, rookie wide receiver out of Western Michigan, playing for the Titans. He's expected to start in the Z or the slot. He did have ankle surgery this offseason, but the news is that he is running with the first team. Mitchell, what do you think about this, and what do you think about Corey Davis?
I think Corey Davis is interesting. Obviously, he's a rookie, so you can't really bank too much on him until you actually see him on the field. But when it comes down to the injury, I don't really see that as a concern as of right now, because once again, we're not on the field yet. But I do think he has a lot of upside.
Do you think that he'd be better in the slot or out at the Z?
I think he might be better at the Z in this case, just because I know that they have Rashard Matthews and they also have Eric Decker, who both have some experience in working from the slot. So I think in that case, they're kind of covered in the slot, and he's more of a big man to stretch the field out type receiver.
So I guess while we're on the subject, I think the slot would be good. I know he's very quick, so that'll be interesting to watch. I'm not particularly high on him in the upcoming draft, but that's okay. Other news, Mike Williams, another rookie with the Chargers. The Chargers are unsure if he's going to play at all in 2017. And I would guess that probably he's going to miss at least the 6 first games, meaning that he'll be on the PUP list. So my question to you, Mitchell, is what does this mean for the following fantasy assets? Keenan Allen, Tyrell Williams, and Phillip Rivers. What are your thoughts? How does this affect them going forward? Does it change anything that you do in the draft?
Well, I think it definitely changes things just because he was a high draft pick, and typically high draft pick wide receivers, as you feel common a lot. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Other than that, though, I think it definitely helps Keenan Allen if he can stay healthy, which we have not seen him do. But Tyrell Williams he's got the ceiling of a lifetime.
Yes, I think Keenan Allen might be one of the riskiest fantasy drafted players this year. For me, what this does is this bumps Tyrell Williams up my rankings quite a bit. Just because with Keenan Allen, you're not sure whether he's going to be injured. I don't know about you, Mitchell, but I've been burned by Keenan Allen before by getting injured. Not sure about your history.
I have never drafted Keenan Allen, but
is he on your radar for this coming draft?
I have a list over here that if certain players get to a certain round and haven't been picked yet, I will take them just because of their upside.
And then I think Phillip Rivers is constantly not getting the respect that he deserves. He's been a top fantasy quarterback in the top 10 for as many years as I can remember now, and continuously he's drafted outside of that. I don't see that changing this year. Okay. The next news comes from Arizona. This is where we are. David Johnson wants to rush for 1,000 yards and receive for 1,000 yards. And he wants 30 touches a week. And the news is special because the Cardinals organization and Larry Fitzgerald really seem to be supporting this idea. Your thoughts, Mitchell?
Well, I just think it's funny because I believe this is the same prediction that you made going into last year, that David Johnson would rush for 1,000 yards and receive for 1,000 yards, if I'm correct.
And I said he would have 20 touchdowns.
And 20 touchdowns. You're really high on David Johnson.
I was really close. I drafted first in our we have a league back home. We're from Michigan. We have a league. It's called the Booty Bowl. And I had the first pick, and I ended up going with Antonio Brown because I thought it was safe. And a lot of people gave me a lot of crap for wanting to take David Johnson there. And I was wrong. I probably would have won the league if I would have taken David Johnson there.
That's a stretch.
Hey, it came in third. So
redacted from the record.
We're not redacting that. The next thing is Evan Ingram, rookie tight end, New York Giants. The news is that he is to move around the offense. My question, though, is there too much competition there for Evan Ingram to be fantasy relevant this season? Or could he potentially be a deep sleeper?
I mean, I can see him being a deep sleeper, but honestly, he's not currently on my radar for right now. I'm not looking too much into the late rounds yet, so I wouldn't say that I've even really given him much thought. What are your thoughts on it?
I think, especially in dynasty leagues, he's someone I'm probably going to target. My concern is, number one, Eli Manning. I don't know. If Eli Manning can't get it done with this offense, he can't get it done with any. And, you're fighting Brandon Marshall, Sterling Shepard, and, of course, Odell Beckham Jr. for targets. That's a tough thing to grasp. The last bit of news comes from Vikings training camp. Another rookie. This is kind of a rookie news day. Dalvin Cook has been said to be impressing at camp. He is running with the starters. But mind you, I believe both of their running backs that they have are actually injured right now. Dalvin Cook, Mitchell, I believe you're pretty high on Dalvin Cook, right?
I am pretty high on Dalvin Cook. I actually thought he was bare minimum the second best running back coming out of the draft. I thought Leonard Fournette was the best, then Dalvin Cook, then I would have rated Christian McCaffrey. I don't think he got the respect he deserved in the draft, and I think that he will be a good transition from Adrian Peterson into running back.
So, would you say that you believe Dalvin Cook is going to be the most impressive rookie running back out of this draft class, and then more importantly, have the most value in this upcoming fantasy season?
No, I think the rookie with the most potential in this draft class is going to be Leonard Fournette, just because he's a bruiser, and I believe that the Jaguars have a pretty good offensive line that they built over the free agency. So I do think that'll be something that'll be good, and he'll probably rush for over 1,000 yards this year.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. I don't know if I believe Leonard Fournette's that good, but what I do believe is that the Jaguars suck, and that Leonard Fournette is their only option. I was reading the other day that Blake Bortles threw something of around 5 interceptions in practice the other day at training camp. Not a surprise from Blake Bortles, but what are you going to do? Okay, so just a real quick rundown of the agenda today for you guys. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go through our top 20 running back positions in fantasy for standard. Then we're going to give you guys our 2017 bold predictions. We might make some bets along the way here, and we'll explain that later. We're going to talk about running back sleepers and their bust potentials of certain running backs. So the first thing here, let's do the top 20 running backs in standard. Who do you got at number 1, Mitchell?
The top 20 running backs in standard?
Top 20 running backs in standard.
Well, I think definitely number 1 is going to be Ezekiel Elliott if he doesn't face suspension. Oh, wait, no. I'm so sorry. That's not true. I think number 1 is going to be David Johnson.
I was going to say, we're going to get started on a hot note. I think David Johnson, as you may suspect from earlier, I think he's the clear number 1 out of all players in any format, just to be honest here. David Johnson's in a unique position to get 30 touches a game. He's young. He's really good. So I think we're in consensus there. Number 2, I have Le'Veon Bell.
I would also agree with Le'Veon Bell.
How far of a mark or a difference do you think there's going to be between the numbers that David Johnson puts up and the numbers that Bell puts up?
I don't think it'll be far. I actually think that Le'Veon Bell has a chance to easily surpass David Johnson, just because I believe he's the most talented running back in the league, in my opinion. Only reason that I would put David Johnson above him is just, pretty much lack of danger with the law and no suspensions that he's dealt with so far.
Yeah, and I think that's the big key. Is I think there's a lot less risk. Although David Johnson did get hurt week 17 last year, I just, Le'Veon Bell is a special player. David Johnson is too. I wish I was drafting second. Unfortunately, I'm not. Third, I think we're going to have a disagreement here, but I'll let you go first, Mitchell.
I would say Ezekiel Elliott if he does not face suspension. If he does face suspension, then I'd have to go to my number 4 weighted running back, which would be LeSean McCoy.
So with Ezekiel Elliott, how many games does Ezekiel Elliott have to miss for you to move him down?
More than 2.
So if he misses 2, you're keeping him at 3?
I'd keep him at 3. Yeah, I think he's worth the upside. I think he could also be pretty close to outperforming Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson just because of the injury risk is not there currently in his career.
Yeah, I actually think that number 3, I have LaShawn McCoy, and the big reason is risk. I think Ezekiel Elliott has a lot of risk with what's been going on in the offseason, whether he's guilty or not. It's not something you want to see from a young player. Plus, I also suspect that the Dallas offense is going to regress a little bit this year. I don't know if I'm calling a sophomore slump here. I still think Zeke's going to be great. I just think that LaShawn McCoy, you know what you're getting from him, and he's not as risky.
Yeah, I mean, I can see what you're saying. I just, at this point in LaShawn McCoy's career, it's really just going to be whether or not he still has the legs to keep repeating what he's been consistently repeating. I mean, he's getting old.
Yeah, he is getting old. I was reading LaShawn McCoy wants to play for another 4 years. Number 4, as you know, Mitchell has LaShawn McCoy there. That is where I put Ezekiel Elliott. If Ezekiel Elliott has a 2-game suspension, I don't think I move him lower than that. But if Ezekiel Elliott were to have 4, I'm probably dropping him down to the second round. What are your thoughts on that? 4-game suspension, where would you move Zeke to?
I'd probably move another 3 or 4 running backs ahead of him, but I don't know if I'd drop him even out of the second round or into the second round. I still feel like he'd be taken before where I would take him, especially in our league, but in most leagues, I think he won't go out of the top 10.
I also, just to give you guys an update, average draft position for these players. David Johnson, I believe, is 1. Le'Veon Bell is hovering around 2. Ezekiel Elliott's average draft position is 3, and LaShawn McCoy's is 8. Number 5 coming in for me is Devonta Freeman. I think Devonta Freeman gets a lot of flack that he doesn't deserve. He's had several years now where he's put up 1,500 yards and 10-plus touchdowns. Mitchell, who's your number 5?
I would also agree with Devonta Freeman at number
5. I think that there might be some risk of a regression in that offense, being that Kyle Shanahan left for less greener pastures in San Francisco. And I also think that that offense, after losing a Super Bowl, there could be some trouble there.
I mean, yeah, I definitely agree. They could have regression. I think that they'll still play as a high-powered offense. I just don't know if they'll be as successful. I don't think Ryan's going to repeat for an MVP, and I don't think they'll make it into deep playoffs. But I think he'll still have a significant role, and I don't think that Tevin Coleman's going to have as big of a year as he had last year. So
I certainly agree. I think Tevin Coleman was going to be one of the most one of potential busts, but we'll get to that later. This love for Tevin Coleman, I get it. He lived on, died on the big plays last year. All right, coming in at 6, Mitchell, who do you got?
Coming in at 6 for the running back position, I'd probably put that as Jordan Howard.
Ooh, I do not agree with that. I think I have Jordan Howard at 9. I have Melvin Gordon as my 6th rated running back. I just think there's a lot of volume in San Diego. And as good as Howard was last year, I just can't see him keep repeating that. There's a lot of risk there. That offense is terrible.
I mean, the reason I'd say that is he didn't have a full start to his career really there until, the first couple weeks got through, and he still rushed for, 1,300 yards and 6 touchdowns. And I believe that Mike Glennon is a step up from Jay Cutler, so I think he'll actually have more opportunity to run. They have a decent receiving core, not, glamorous by any means, but decent. So I think it'll all kind of balance himself out. I think he'll be able to repeat 1,000 yards and maybe even up the touchdown total.
If he doesn't up the touchdown total, then he definitely shouldn't be there. I mean, 6 touchdowns is not a lot of touchdowns. That's my concern. Is he had trouble getting in the end zone, and I don't think that Chicago offense is going to have the ability to move the ball, with ease. I think it's going to be a struggle. So we are on 7. My 7th ranked running back in standard is Jay Ajayi. I'm going to do a bold prediction. So a bold prediction I have for Jay Ajayi this year, and this is my first of my 3 bold predictions. We're just going to mix these in. I think Jay Ajayi will have a total of 1,800 yards this year, combined receiving and rushing, and will have over 10 touchdowns. Now, my rankings don't reflect that because this is a bold prediction, but I'm looking to get Jay Ajayi in some leagues. What do you think, Mitchell? Who's your 7?
I love Jay Ajayi, but my 7th is definitely going to be Melvin Gordon. I put him in above Jay Ajayi in this category. I had Jay Ajayi last year, and I was very happy about it. I actually drafted him, released him from my team, and then picked him back up before anybody realized his true potential. And when I was successful with that, I became a fan for life. So I do like him, but I also had Melvin Gordon, so I'm a little bit of a homer on both fronts there. But I think that Melvin Gordon will have a similar year to last year, hopefully without the injury. Therefore, I think that he's going to be a touchdown machine. I'm thinking like 13 plus, and including 1,000 yards.
Do you think that my bold prediction is way out of whack?
Let me hear the prediction one more time. Exactly.
It's 1,800 total yards and 10 touchdowns.
I don't think that's out of whack. I mean, he didn't have that bad of stats last year, and he played limited time up until, what was it, like week 5?
Week 4 when Arian Foster decided to retire.
Yeah, exactly.
And they left him at home the first game. Do you remember
and he
that?
already rushed for 1,272 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. So for him to up that total, I definitely don't think that would be, unreasonable. I'm not going to say it's going to happen. That's why it's bold. But.
The concerns, if you have any with it, Jay Ajayi, are probably that he's not proven. Much like, I guess you could use my own argument against me here with Jordan Howard. I just think that Jay Ajayi has a lot more potential than Howard. But we will see. Number 8. What do you got?
For number 8, I have Jay Ajayi.
Jay Ajayi coming in at number 8. See, I have Jay Ajayi a little higher, but again, I still have not had Jordan Howard, and I don't have him as my 8. I have at my 8, I have DeMarco Murray. I think DeMarco is set up to continue what he's doing. I think he'll hold Derrick Henry off for a little while longer. You had who at 8? You had Jay Ajayi?
I had Jay Ajayi.
What do you think about DeMarco?
I have DeMarco at number 9.
You have DeMarco at 9, and I have Jordan Howard at 9. So it looks like our rankings have been pretty similar so far. We're getting into that. Those are the first 9. So those are the running backs that you probably can expect to go off in the first 2 rounds. I would think. If one of those people fell to me in the 3rd round, I would be ecstatic.
Yeah, I do not see them really going past round. I mean, honestly, probably round 15 max. Not round 15, pick 15.
I think even if I went running back, and one of those guys fell to me in the 3rd, I'm drafting a 3rd running back because of the value there. Now,
yeah, I mean, it's trade bait, if anything.
Yeah, it's trade bait, plus there's always injuries at the running back. So that caps off the first 9. At 10, this was where I would assume we are going to start to have some disagreements. I have coming in at 10, and this is someone I think is going – I almost think he's a sleeper. His average draft position is 31. Do you have a guess on who that is, Mitchell?
I do not.
Isaiah Crowell is my number 10 ranked running back in fantasy football, making him an RB1 in my rankings. I know that Cleveland loves to run the ball. Crowell is young. He's getting better. And I just got a feeling that they're just going to hand him the rock at least, 15, 20 times a game. What do you think, Mitchell?
I mean, I get what you're saying with Crowell. The only reason that I'm not really amped to love him is purely because of the state that he resides in and the city and the team that he plays for. I don't have a lot of belief in the Browns brass. I don't believe in their ownership. I don't think their coaching has been good for years. But I do understand why his production could be there. But I just don't think that he's going to repeat even what he did last year this year. If he does, I think it'll stay around the same numbers.
Well, that's the thing. Fantasy football isn't about necessarily that the team being super great. It's about volume. It's about targets. It's about carries. And I think Crowell is going to have those.
I think a lot of this year, though, for the Browns is going to be about them finding who's going to lead them as quarterback. I don't think they're really worried about the running back position. It's a very high volume turnover position.
Who's their projector to be quarterback right now? I'm not even sure.
I think everybody's saying it's going to be Cody Kessler. Is that his name?
Oh yeah, that's right. I think that's what they're saying. It's Cody Kessler's.
But then he's competing with Brock Osweiler and Deshaun Kaiser. So they have a whole bunch of young talent around him, and they're going to try to figure out which one that is. So I think I'm going to see a lot of passing, and they don't have a bad receiving corps.
Well, they lost Terrell Pryor, and they gained Kenny Britt, and they have Corey Coleman.
Yeah, and then drafted the number 2 overall tight end in the draft.
Oh yeah, David Njoku.
Yeah, Njoku.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm pretty big on Crowell. I think that if you can get him as your RB2, you're really getting an RB1. I know a lot of analysts and experts will not agree with that, but I really do believe in Crowell this year, and I think he's gonna turn it on, and it's gonna help people win some leagues. Who was your number 10 ranking?
My number 10, I think, is going to be a bounce back year for my man Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley at 10. See, I don't have him too much further down the list, but you need to explain yourself on this one because he had an awful season last year, and that team sucks.
Yeah, I mean, he had an awful year, but he's a talented running back. I mean, we saw that in his rookie year. He rushed for 1,300 yards over 13 games. So he obviously can do it, and he did it behind a similar line that he did it, last year. I think that he had a sophomore slump, and I'm predicting, on my side, a little bit of gut and a little bit of everybody sees a sophomore slump every once in a while, so I think that he's going to come back at it third year. I think he'll probably have a positive year.
I feel like they got a worse quarterback situation than Crowell does. I mean, you got Jared Goff throwing the ball to Miles, or not Miles Austin, but what's his name? Tevin Austin, or I can't think of his name right now. Austin, whatever. They have a wide receiver, but nevertheless, I can't name one receiver on their team right now. So I just feel like
Tavon Austin.
Tavon Austin. That's what it is.
No, I get that, but they know who they want their quarterback to be. It's the difference. You know what I mean? It's not going to be like a season of tryouts.
This is true, but at the same time, the defenses they got to play Seattle twice. They got to play Arizona twice. I don't know. That would worry me. I mean, I'm not someone who looks at the schedules like, I'm not drafting this player because of that. But like, I will move people up and down depending on like their division, and maybe the game script. I gotta say, I kind of disagree with this one. I don't hate Gurley. I feel like 10. He was at 10 for you.
Yeah,
10 is just too high for me. There's a couple people that I like better.
I think you can pretty much consider that one of my bold predictions.
What are you saying he goes for then? What's the prediction?
I mean, I could probably see him going for over 1,000 yards, and I'm not saying he'll have a crazy year, but I think he'll have 1,000 yards, 6 to 8 touchdowns. Solid year.
1,000 yards, 6 to 8 touchdowns. Okay. RB1. All right, so now we're moving on to the RB2s. Rankings 11 through 20 here. At 11, I have Lamar Miller. I think that Lamar Miller, that offense is going to need to depend on him a little bit. I don't think he was terrible last year. He definitely didn't live up to the first-round draft pick, which he got in a lot of drafts. But I think if you can get him here in the third round, I think that you're gonna get some value returned on that. What are your thoughts on Miller, Mitchell?
I like Miller. He's not rated as my number 11, but I do think that he's a quality player. I don't necessarily think that he'll be a great running back. Obviously I don't think he'll finish in the top 10, but I think he has a lot of potential to be a steady scoring guy, like 8 to 10 points a week, but then, obviously have those fluctuating games between 4 and 5. But yeah, he's definitely not my number 11. My number 11 would be, I'm actually going to go potential over resume here and go with Leonard Fournette at number 11.
Leonard Fournette at number 11. That's an awful lot of faith in a rookie. I mean, I get it, and I think that's the standard when it goes to rankings. So looking at fantasypros.com, Leonard Fournette is actually ranked at 11. So you're right on the money there. And Todd Gurley was actually ranked at 9 or 10, I mean. So looks like Mitchell's going with the pros essentially. Not that he's doing that on purpose or anything, but it just happened to be that way. So looking at the numbers, Miller had 1,073 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns rushing. I do not have his receiving yards available here. That's pretty good, and that made him 10th in rushing, right behind Devonta Freeman. The concern, I think, is the touchdowns. Is he going to be able to score? that offense is probably going to be terrible as well. But I still think that there's enough workload there for him to get the 11. Leonard Fournette, I'm not so sure about rookies, and especially in the Jacksonville offense. I feel like I almost have him ranked higher on mine than I should, and we're still quite a bit of ways from that. But we'll get back to that. Marshawn Lynch is my number 12 ranking. I think there's a lot of risk there, but there's also a heck of a lot of upside in terms of touchdowns. I think this will change a lot as we go forward to see through training camp. Is he healthy? How's he looking? And I know there's articles that have came out saying they might limit him to under 200 carries. I don't know. What do you think about Marshawn Lynch, and who's your number 12?
My number 12 is Marshawn Lynch.
Also Marshawn Lynch?
Yes. I think Lynch is going to be great, but I just don't want to put him
too high on it until I can see, like really how he does in his first couple weeks, I guess. But that's where I'm baiting him right now. If I see more from him or hear more about it, that he looks exactly like he did, then I'll obviously raise him up because he was a top 5 running back for consistent years in fantasy.
I know. I'm worried about the 1 year off. That's like, who knows what he did in that year? Was he training? Was he sitting on his couch? And then, he's reporting to training camp, I think, at a decent weight, and he looks fine. But and I guess he's a year fresher. He's got fresh legs. I'm just not convinced that Lynch is going to be the same Lynch of old. But the potential is there, especially for touchdowns. That's going to be a pass-heavy offense, I think, and wherever they get down to the goal line, you can just pound it in with Lynch. So I got him at 12. 13, I have Todd Gurley. Average draft position is 21 for Gurley. I have him ranked as my 13th overall running back. Like I said earlier, I expressed my concerns with him, so let's move over to Mitchell. 13, who do you got?
I have Isaiah Crowell.
Isaiah Crowell. So we had our switch then. I had Isaiah Crowell at 10, and you had Gurley at 10. You have Gurley at 10, right?
I had Gurley at 10.
Let's go on to 14 then. This is one I think I'll probably get some backlash, and this is one of my sleepers. Ty Montgomery I have ranked as my 14th best running back. I had him on my team last year and watched him play through the playoffs, and honestly, I think a lot of people are afraid because he's a wide receiver transitioning into running back, but he's going to play in a very friendly offense that'll be able to use him in a lot of ways. He worked off in the offseason with some people that really helped him get his running back footwork and blocking down. I think that they don't really have anyone else who's going to start over him either. I think he's going to have – this is my bold prediction too. I'm going to go ahead and say Ty Montgomery has 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns next season. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I actually have him under a different category in my list. And on my list, I believe that he's going to be a bust. I don't think that he's going to see nearly as much playing time out of the running back position as expected. So I think he might turn into a decent wide receiver, slot guy that works out there. But, they drafted 3 rookie running backs in the draft.
They have no depth. They have to do
Well, yeah, they could sign veterans. There's a reason that they wanted a whole bunch of people with potential. Is the way I see it. And, I watched him play too. He's good. He's okay, but he's not a running back. He just kind of slithered through some holes every once in a while.
I think he's going to make the transition nice. And I think that being that you have him as a bust and I have him as a sleeper, I think that this should be our first bet of the season. So throughout our podcast that we'll do probably weekly, we'll see what schedule we can get going. We're going to be doing different bets. And at the end of the year, we'll tally this up as we go, kind of like a win-loss. And the loser will have to buy a jersey of the other player's choosing. And what else are we going to include in there, Mitchell?
It's going to be my favorite kind of bet that you can do. We call it a slap bet. So I'm not familiar exactly where it's coming from because I'm losing it. Oh, How I Met Your Mother. In the show, these characters have a slap bet. Essentially, if you lose the bet, then the person that won the bet gets to slap you as hard as they can. What we would do is we would put it on video and we would release it with our next podcast that we did the following year.
Yeah, we would do it during the podcast, and you guys would be able to say we're going to invest eventually here in some recording devices so we can put this on YouTube as well. I want to make a clause here with the jersey. I think the jersey should have to be one of the players that we bet on. And it has to be one of the players that you or me. So, like, in this case, if I were to win this bet,
you get a Ty Montgomery jersey.
I could potentially propose at the end of the year that you give me Ty Montgomery. We're going to have a list of bets, so it just has to be someone in there.
If you ever wore Packers colors, I would burn you alive.
This is a good point. We're a Lions fan, but and maybe not Ty Montgomery, but I think that's a cool way to do this.
Right.
So let's do that. Let's do our first bet. So let's negotiate the terms of this bet.
Okay. I don't think he will rush for more than 900 yards.
I will take that bet.
Okay.
Wait, rush for more than 900 or have more than 900?
Rush for more than 900. He's a running back.
I got it. Let's see. Give me a second let me see what he ended up with. I know he didn't play a full season, but I'm curious. Ty Montgomery, 457. He did only have 77 carries. You don't think that he will rush for more than 900 yards?
No, I do not.
Ooh. Oh, this is a tough bet. I think he's gonna. I was kind of putting him around in my mind. My bold prediction is 1,500, but that's a bold prediction for a reason. That's total yards, so I was thinking he'd have more of something like, maybe 500 receiving and 1,000 rushing. But I'll do the bet. Inaugural podcast. The first bet is going to be Ty Montgomery getting 900 yards. So if he hits 900 yards or more, I take the bet. Anything less than that, Mitchell takes the bet.
Rushing yards.
I'll take that, and I'm going to take that to the bank. I'm going to take that to your face with the slap.
You never won a slap bet with me before, but you have lost one.
I have not. I actually got screwed over with a slap bet last Super Bowl. The Falcons were up 28-3, and I made a slap bet with Mitchell, and he had owed me some money at the time, so that's what he was wagering, and I was wagering my face. And when it went to overtime, Mitchell gave me this out of, hey, if you let me slap you no matter what, even if the Patriots don't win, I'll use my left hand. So I took that, and I think that was a really, really smart decision because nobody likes to get slapped in the face.
So just to clarify for the public record, there was money being bet as well, and I still took the money. The only difference that we made was going to be that I would slap him with my left hand out of courtesy. Then Dylan ended up actually winning the money a week later over a game of bowling, which I kind of got a little overconfident, and I'm not very good at bowling, and he ended up winning the money back less than a week later.
And let's be clear, I'm not good at bowling either. I think I won the game with maybe like 170, which is like a career high for me. But back to Ty Montgomery, he is being drafted 52 is his average draft position. I think this is someone that you need to strongly consider taking round 5, early round 5, maybe round 6 at the latest, and possibly even in the end of round 4, depending on your running back situation.
I have him for late 6th, mid 7th.
Did Ty Montgomery even break your top 20?
I don't believe so, but he may have slipped in. Let me go back over here.
I think Ty Montgomery is going to surprise a lot of people. I think he's a running back that's going to be here to fight in fantasy for a while. I saw him run. If you guys can remember, I think it was the Bears game last year. I was in the playoffs, and he won me my playoff game, bringing me to third place finish because he had something like 30 points. And I think he really started to come on at the end of the year. And I just think that they're going to do a better job of running the ball more because they passed the ball a lot last year. But let's move on to rank 15. Or who was your 14? I'm sorry, I don't think we got yours.
It was Crowell.
Crowell, okay. 15. I have Leonard Fournette at 15. I've expressed my concerns about him. Still a high volume guy, but I'm definitely taking Ty Montgomery over Leonard Fournette, and that's probably laughable to a lot of people out there. But
At 15, I have Mark Ingram.
Mark Ingram?
Yeah.
You have Mark Ingram not too much higher than me, but I'd like to hear this because aren't you pretty high on Adrian Peterson as well?
Oh, no, not necessarily. I mean, I can't always be 100% honest with you, Dylan, because we are in multiple fantasy leagues together. So, with that being said, if I am being honest, I think that he will carry a majority of the more workload, and I think that he'll be pretty successful in it. But I obviously don't think that he'll be top 10 successful. I think they'll have a solid. I mean, it really depends on what AP does, but at this point, I think his upside is just too much to turn down. I think that's a perfect ranking for him.
And just to be clear here on Fantasy Pros, what the Fantasy Pros website does is they bring in rankings from a bunch of websites and then create like a consensus rankings. Ty Montgomery was ranked 17 and Mark Ingram is ranked 20 on that list. I like Mark Ingram. My concerns with Mark Ingram are, what if AP is AP? I'm not going to draft AP. Maybe if AP drops to around 9 or 8, I might think about snatching.
I don't think I'm going to draft Ingram.
Ingram?
Yeah, I don't think I will. I don't think I'm going to, just because of AP. I mean, I don't want to take multiple risks in my draft, and I already have very scheduled risks that I want to take.
Right, you have places where you got to take your risk and where you don't. That makes sense. But the other thing is, Sean Payton, for some reason, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind, Mark Ingram is the most talented running back on that team right now. Sean Payton hates him. Look at last year. It was so frustrating to have Mark Ingram on my fantasy team because every time it would just be Tim Hightower stealing the touchdown or Mark Ingram would be pulled after, for no reason. AP is there. Mark Ingram is there. And so there's a third running back there, and I can't think about who it is, but there's a lot of competition there. I like Mark Ingram. He's been falling a lot. His average draft position is 49. I think people are undervaluing him and the talent that he has. Now let's go on to 16. Another one I expect to get maybe some backlash from Mitchell. Maybe not. We did not compare our rankings before, so it's been kind of interesting to see where he has people. I have Spencer Ware as my 16th ranked running back. I think the Chiefs' offense is good. Spencer Ware, last year, he had 921 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. He also did have some receiving yards. I don't have those numbers available, though. Let me see if I can pull them up real quick. But Spencer Ware, I think that's a good offense. I think they're going to move the ball. I think there's a lot of potential. You've seen what Jamal Charles can do there. And I think Spencer Ware is good enough to hold off Kareem Hunt for at least one more year. Last year, receiving stats for Spencer Ware, he had 447 yards receiving. That's with 33 catches, and he had 2 touchdowns. So he had a total of 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns.
So the touchdown total is low, but I do agree with you on the ranking. I also have him in the same spot. So obviously we agree on some things and vary off on others. But I think that he'll be a solid running back. I do see what they're talking about with Kareem Hunt. So I would recommend him as a cuff. He'd be a cuff player for me. There's certain players in the draft I'd make sure you cuffed, including Spencer Ware and, just for another example, Eddie Lacy.
See, I disagree with the handcuff strategy. I actually think it's not a good thing to do because you're then saying you're tying up a bench spot for I don't know how long into the season until someone gets hurt or a starting job is taken, when instead you could throw a dart and take someone else who has a lot of upside. I think that's something that a lot of people do. There's only a few scenarios where I personally would recommend handcuffing, and that is like if you draft Ezekiel Elliott and he's out for the first 2 weeks. Okay, pick someone up for 2 weeks, drop that person after 2 weeks. But I've never personally been burned by not handcuffing, so I just don't know if I agree with the strategy of handcuffing in general. I think I'd rather take that chance. What do you think, Mitchell?
I mean, I'm not big on the handcuffing. I don't think I've ever really had a situation where I Oh, well, I mean, I drafted Jay Ajayi purely off the fact that I didn't think their starting running back would work out. So essentially, I didn't handcuff him. But
See, that's exactly my point, though, is that instead of handcuffing your guy, you can pick out players that because you're drafting that guy thinking he's going to be good. So why not pick up a backup somewhere else that you think okay, this guy could take the starting job?
right, but also, why would you not? If you have that fear, for the running back in question, like Spencer Ware had 5 complete touchdowns last year as a starting role all year long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So obviously, if they have something better, they're going to take that shot. And this is obviously a team that's not afraid to go away from talent, as they just cut Jeremy Maclin when he wasn't even a very good deal. So with that being said, I think handcuffing is only a good idea if you think that both players have max potential, is what I'm saying. Like Thomas Rawls, Eddie Lacy, that situation I find really interesting because Eddie Lacy has had a great year and Thomas Rawls.
Would you handcuff if you had DeMarco Murray with Derrick Henry?
No. See, I don't see potential in Derrick Henry.
Oh, I think Derrick Henry is going to be great, but I still wouldn't. I mean, if you're going to handcuff, you got to pay like a 9th round pick, and I'm not willing to do that.
I mean, Derrick Henry's seen some live action game time, and you know what I mean. He's never really convinced the coaching staff to let him keep playing. You know what I mean? A lot of coaches will ride the hot hand no matter who their starter is.
I think Derrick Henry had about 500 yards rushing last year. Let's see what his let's try to find him.
But yeah, coming in a relief role,
Derrick Henry averaged 4.5 yards a carry, 490 yards rushing. I don't know. I think that Derrick Henry is good. This is something interesting. I'm just looking at the rushing stats. Aaron Rodgers was the 49th ranked rusher last year, above of Eddie Lacy. Just a fun, interesting little fact there. Okay, so we both had Spencer Ware at 16. At 17, as we were talking about him earlier, I have Mark Ingram as my 17th ranked, so not too far off of Mitchell. What was your 17th ranked running back?
I believe my 17th ranked running back would be Eddie Lacy, actually.
Eddie Lacy. See, I have him on my list. I have him at 20, but I thought I was being bold putting him at 20. I could have feel like the other day you were just telling me that you like Thomas Rawls.
No, I do like Thomas Rawls. I think that Thomas Rawls has so much potential, but it really just comes down to what Eddie Lacy can do because they brought him in for a reason. So if he gets off rolling, I think that he'll be the top running back. But it really depends. That's one of the players, Eddie Lacy. If I draft him, I will be aiming very heavily to cuff him because I think that Thomas Rawls could steal that any minute.
I couldn't see that. And some people like CJ Prosise, too, who will probably get the third down work in the receiving work. I think that's when I would be okay with handcuffing because you're probably going to pick Lacy up, and his average draft position is 78. So that's right in the middle of round 8, I believe. And so if you use an 8 on him and then you use a 12 on Rawls, if you can swing that, I think that would be good. But I would hate to spend anything higher than like a 12 on that. A lot of potential in Seattle for the running back. Lacy is down in weight. He's got a contract to keep his weight, so we'll see where that goes. Moving on, 18. I'm surprised that you did not already say this person. I thought you would have them higher, and I'm not sure if I even agree with my own rankings here, to be honest. But I'm going to say at 18, I'm putting Christian McCaffrey. I think there's a lot of potential for him to get a lot of receiving work. A lot of good news coming out of camp that he can't be covered. I don't think he's going to be a traditional every down running back, and I still really like Jonathan Stewart. But I'm looking at he's got potential to get about 1,000 yards and to get, I don't know, with that playmaking ability, he could have somewhere between 5 and 10 touchdowns, which is pretty good. And then there's a lot of potential there. What do you think about Christian McCaffrey, Mitchell, and who did you pick for 18?
This is for 18?
Yes.
Give me 1 second.
Christian McCaffrey's average draft position is 34, which is we actually have him lower in our rankings than a lot of people. On Fantasy Football Pros, his consensus ranking is actually 18, but I think people are drafting him higher because he's a rookie. There's something kind of fancy about a rookie. And there's a rookie we haven't mentioned yet that has been being drafted higher than him even, and that's Joe Mixon. Maybe we'll talk about him later. I'm not super high on Joe Mixon. He's got a lot of running back a lot of running backs to compete with, Gio and Jeremy Hill, and they're talking about Jeremy Hill's might be the starter still. Christian McCaffrey, though, he's interesting. He's young and he's fast, but I think Jay Stu still has some left in him, and I'm not sure how good that offense is going to be with Cam Newton. Do we have an 18th overall running back here, Mitchell?
Yeah, I think Christian McCaffrey is actually my 18th. I think on my list I accidentally made him 19, but then I realized it went from 17 to 19, so filling in some space.
You know, I actually think I want to make a bet with you, and it's not about Christian McCaffrey. I almost feel like I want to make a bet about Leonard Fournette.
Okay, while we're at it, let me go ahead and bring up a bold prediction for you.
All right, bold prediction.
I think that Leonard Fournette in his rookie year will rush for more than 12 touchdowns.
You probably don't want to take that as a bet. You probably want to hit somewhere in between that. I will bet you that Leonard Fournette does not rush for more than 10 touchdowns.
Okay, I'll take it.
Rush. I'll just say total. We'll say he won't have more than 10 total touchdowns.
Okay.
We got the second bet. So the first bet we had today was that Ty Montgomery will have over 900 yards rushing. Dylan Wagella here, think he will, and Mitchell Wagella thinks not. And Leonard Fournette, our bet is that he will not have more than 10 total touchdowns. So he would need 11 to win that bet.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to win that one for sure. I'm a little more skeptical about the Ty Montgomery prediction, but I don't know. 10 touchdowns. Are the Jacksonville Jaguars even going to score 10 touchdowns? Just kidding. Obviously. All right, number 19. Or did you had it Christian at 18? Number 19, I have C.J. Anderson coming in as my 19th ranked running back. Average draft position is 44 for C.J., ranked 21 on Fantasy Pros. Mitchell, who do you have at 19? And
I also have C.J. Anderson at 19.
Sorry. You also have C.J. Anderson. Booker is, I think he's hurt right now. I think he's on the PUP. I don't think Jamal Charles is going to do much. They can't use him too much or his knees will explode. What do you think about the prospect of C.J. Anderson? I know he got hurt last year.
I think that C.J. Anderson will be good as long as he stays healthy, obviously. But, I mean, I think that's one thing that Jamal Charles won't be able to do. I actually would not be surprised to see Jamal Charles off of the Broncos before the end of training camp. You know, one of those situations where they try him out for a little bit, and then they're like, you know what? No.
Jamal Charles?
Yeah. I could see him cut from the team before the season starts.
I hear he looks 100%. That's what I was reading. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like the same thing. I kind of feel the same way about the situation in New Orleans. Is AP still got it? Does Charles have it if he's healthy? I mean, that guy was a monster, and I've gotten burned on the Charles train before. So I think C.J. Anderson will have a good season. Coming in at 20, this is where I had Eddie Lacy. So who did you have at 20 there?
Well, at 20, I actually had a question just because I was looking at some different rankings, and there's somebody that I noticed neither of us said, so I wanted to get your opinion on him. But before I go into all of that, who I had at 20 was Joe Mixon.
You had Joe Mixon at 20.
I had Joe Mixon at 20 just because I was watching some of his game film and just like kind of trying to figure out where the hype really was. And that dude just runs like a monster. And I think if he can stay out of trouble, that guy is going to be a next big thing as well. I mean, I think he had probably been the most talented running back in the draft besides Leonard Fournette. That obviously was a criminal, but everybody else wasn't, so they got pushed up.
I haven't watched his game film. I've heard just great things about him. I'm pretty sure our brother Nick is really high on him.
Yeah, he probably would have had him at 12.
He probably would have. Maybe he'll draft him at the round 1-2 turn. But I don't like taking rookie running backs early. I don't think there's a good history of them actually paying off the value that you pay for them. I'd rather take someone I know is going to give me what I need in the early rounds, especially because I think his average draft position is like just 21, or 17 actually, so it's even higher. So I'm not willing to put a second round pick on Joe Mixon. I'm just not. I'm not gonna do that. I don't know. I don't have him in my top 20. I don't know exactly where I would put him. We only did the top 20 for this podcast. But there are some notable people that we did not mention. Looking at Fantasy Pros, again, they use all of the rankings out there and put them together. Number 15 is Carlos Hyde.
That's what I was going to bring up to you.
And the way I feel about he's ranked 15. His average draft position is 18. I don't know. There have been reporters saying that he's going to get cut. There have been reporters saying that, John Lynch came out and said he looks great and he's lost weight and he's really trying to get better. Personally, I think he has potential. I don't know if I'm willing to take the risk on him. I would rather take running backs early and then just not have to even worry about having him as a running back 2. Maybe a running back 3 I would be fine with. What do you think?
I mean, he quietly put up almost 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns last year. He had 988 yards and 6 touchdowns, averaged 4.6 yards per carry. So he didn't have a bad year. And it's probably been his longest year. Just looking at his stats here, it looks like that's the only year that he really played close to full. So, I mean, if he can be healthy, I think he can be something. But I haven't seen anything out of him that makes me want him on my fantasy football team.
No, and I'm also looking here. Ranked on strength of schedule, he has the hardest schedule for running backs in the league. You got some tough defenses in that division. He's gonna be fighting a game script because that team doesn't have a good defense. So I just don't think he's worthy of that pick. I don't think that I would go for that. I don't know. I'm staying away from him. He can't stay healthy. He had an okay year last year, but I don't know. I don't know if he even gets 7. I don't know if he keeps the starting job, to be honest with you. Looking ahead here, I have one more bold prediction, and then we can talk about sleepers and busts, and then we'll wrap it up here. So, bold prediction! I think that Jacquizz Rodgers. So first, before I go into this, let me make sure that we're all updated on the situation. Doug Martin is out for 3 weeks. My bold prediction is that Jacquizz Rodgers has a really good 3 weeks and earns the starting job in Tampa Bay. And Doug Martin's used as more of a role player / third down running back. That's bold because I don't think a lot of people think that's going to happen. What are your thoughts, Mitchell?
I actually agree about this. The thing with my list is I have a separate section of people that I'm willing to take about a round above or 2 rounds above where they're actually being drafted as like a kind of a sleeper thing. So I've put him as one of my sleepers on my list is going to be Jacquizz Rodgers. I think that everybody thinks that Doug Martin's going to keep his job, but I actually, while we were sitting here, I had a little notification pop up from an article that came out that said, Doug Martin, not guaranteed the starting job? ?
Yeah, I also read that article earlier, which kind of led me into this. But I'm just looking at this. Jacquizz Rodgers averaged almost 4.5 yards per carry last season, which isn't bad. And I think that if he can get off to a hot start, that he will earn that starting job. What are your other bold predictions? So far mine were Jay Ajayi, 1,800 yards total, 10 rushing touchdowns, or touchdowns total. Ty Montgomery, 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns. And then Jacquizz Rodgers gets the starting job.
I think that Amir Abdullah is going to rush for over 900 yards this year.
Amir Abdullah rushing for over 900 yards. I do not think that I agree with that. I just don't think we'll be able to. I don't know if we even a team. Do we have 1,000 yards rushing last year?
No. Well, we might have had 1,000 as a team, but our top rusher ran for like 400 something.
So we're talking about the Detroit Lions. If you don't know, we are hardcore Lions fans stranded in the desert. I'm going to look that up. Detroit Lions rushing yards. Because, so here's the thing. Even if Abdullah stays healthy, I don't think he's going to have third down work. I think Riddick is still the guy for third down work. I think Riddick's a red zone guy. I would be willing to make a bet on this, but I would prefer to do it on touchdowns because I really don't think Abdullah is going to have a lot of touchdowns. But if you want to propose a bet, if the bet is 900 yards,
900 yards.
Rushing. I'll take that bet.
Okay.
Third bet of the evening, Amir Abdullah. With 900 yards rushing. He has to have over that.
So just to clarify, he would need 901.
Well, no, if he gets to 900 yards. Sorry, he gets to 900.
If he gets 900, then I win.
Because that's how we did it with Ty. Okay, well, that would be a cool jersey, but I'm not going to lose the bets, so maybe I'll have to pick a Lion at some point.
Didn't play much in 2015. He rushed for 600, so.
Last year?
2015.
How many weeks did he play?
13.
13 weeks?
I think so.
Well, we'll see. The Lions have been notoriously bad at running the ball, and I don't know if I believe that changes. I know we got some good linemen in there. I hope that they run the ball, and I hope that Abdullah beats this. I think the smart bet is that he's under that. I do like Abdullah in fantasy, though. Let's go through our sleepers. So my first sleeper here, I talked about him earlier, is Isaiah Crowell. I think that he's being drafted too low. I think that if you can swing him in the 4th round, I would take him. We talked about this, so I'll run through it. Ty Montgomery, 52 is his average draft position. I think that I got him on my rankings only 4 spots behind Crowell. I think he's an upside RB2. And then I have Danny Woodhead and Terrence West. So with the news of Kenneth Dixon being out for the season, I like Danny Woodhead more than I do Terrence West. Danny Woodhead's right now getting drafted at 81, so that's right in around 10 or 9. I mean, what are your thoughts on Danny Woodhead and Terrence West? And Terrence West's average draft position is 133. I expect those to change, but I also think either one of them is gonna. I think they both will produce in Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have high draft value of either of them, to be completely honest with you. I mean, I can see him going in like 7th, 8th round, around there, for Danny Woodhead more specifically. But even with that being said, I don't ever want to put all of my eggs in one basket with those type of players. Like Terrence West has not proved anything to me, in my opinion, and Danny Woodhead has been consistent, but he's a specific type of player. And if a true back emerges in Baltimore, then I feel like he's going to go almost unnoticed.
Danny Woodhead?
Yeah.
Oh, I think Danny Woodhead's got the 3rd down role locked up. Danny Woodhead's good. Danny Woodhead's probably going to get goal line carries there. I don't know. Danny Woodhead is a really good running back, and I think he's underrated. And I think those 2 running backs, or really anyone on the Baltimore Ravens, is really underrated because of how bad the team is. But I think that I'd rather have a player who gets the ball a lot on a bad team than someone who doesn't get the ball a lot on a good team. We'll see what happens there. My last sleeper I had was Thomas Rawls. He's being drafted in the 14th round. I think that because I don't see him and Lacey. I don't know if him and Lacey, who's going to get the job. Rawls is one of those guys that even though he's a backup, you might want to draft him because we know Lacey's ankles like to get hurt, and we know that Lacey has weight problems too. So you don't really know what to expect from Lacey, and I think Rawls, he's not good by any means, but he could get some value. All right, let's hear your sleepers, Mitchell.
Well, I mean, my first question for you is, do you have any deep sleepers that you wouldn't really find on the top, like 200?
A deep sleeper.
Deep sleeper.
I maybe a deep sleeper for me would be Joey Galloway, the Detroit Lions. Galladay. Sorry about that. Of the Detroit Lions, I think that he's a starter. No one's talking about him. I just think that he could get a lot of the targets from the slot if he is the talk that people are talking about. He's as good as people say.
Well, that's kind of funny. A sleeper that I think that we could have this year, it would be Marvin Jones.
I do not think Marvin Jones is a very spectacular receiver, but I think he's going to have a better year than he did last year. And I believe he's projected to go in like the 12th round right now.
Yeah, I also like Marvin Jones. I don't know if I would draft him where he is, but I wouldn't reach for him.
No, I mean I wouldn't. I might reach for him above it like a round or two. You know, earliest I'd ever consider drafting would be like round 10. But I think he definitely has more upside than the rookie, especially because I don't know if you know much about Galladay, but he didn't even play for a Division I school really. He played for a very, very low-key college and did not play against very high competition. Not saying that you can't have a Cinderella story in that circumstance, but my true sleeper and my number one rated sleeper that I don't think anybody's really paying attention to is Devontae Parker. I think he's going in like round 12 as well, maybe around 11. And I think that he might even outplay Jarvis Landry this year because I think that Jarvis Landry is more of a system guy. And I think Devontae Parker is getting used to his system.
See, I think I disagree with that. I like Jarvis Landry, and I think Jarvis Landry will have a better year than Parker. I would actually also be willing to make another bet with you here that Jarvis Landry has a better year than Devontae Parker.
Yeah, I'm not going to take that bet.
Yeah, I didn't think you would take that bet.
Kind of one of my sleepers. So.
No, I understand. I don't hate Devontae Parker. I don't know. How much room is there for offense in there if Landry's going to get the ball, Ajayi's going to get the ball, and is Tannehill even going to be that good? So, yes, we'll see. You have any other ones? Otherwise, we can move on to busts here.
Yeah, well, I had Rawls on my list as well, but the only other one I really could think of, I mean, it's not like a deep sleeper or anything, but I think Corey Coleman will be great. I mean, I had him for a very brief amount of time last year, and I think he only played 2 games, and he put up like 200-something yards and a couple touchdowns.
I agree with that, but let's save wide receivers. We just talked about Devontae Parker, but let's save wide receivers for the wide receiver show coming up.
Oh, this is a running back show.
Right.
Oh. I guess that would be good to know.
Yeah, and I said Joey anyway for my sleepers. So we should have said running back sleepers.
Well, if we're looking at running backs, I'm looking more around, I think that Mike Gillespie could have a good year in New England. I think he could take over the blunt role and get 10-plus touchdowns.
Yeah, I almost think that White might be the better back there. I mean, White was so good in the Super Bowl. I know that they went out and got Mike, but I really think that White's a good player. I don't think his role is going to change.
Yeah, but he's a receiver. He's theoretic with a couple carries.
Yeah, this is true. All right, so let's talk about running back busts. My number one bust here, because of his average draft position, is Adrian Peterson. I think he's being way overdrafted. I don't know what people are thinking. I think everyone's living in the past with AP. He's getting older. And he's just, I don't know, he's got a lot of competition there. I don't think he's the best back on the team. That's a pass-first offense. I don't really see why everyone's falling head over heels for Adrian Peterson here. What are your thoughts on AP? Would you see one of your bust candidates as well?
No, I mean, he's not. He could, but I don't think he's really, he's not getting drafted at a very high level. You know what I mean? He's still up there, but he's not a top back anymore. And I think the fantasy football rankings kind of represent that. He's going in the 7th round-ish, right?
I still think that's too high.
Yeah, I mean, it could be too high, but he also won MVP, 3 years ago?
Sure, after being injured.
Yeah, right after being injured. So, I mean, he could definitely be a potential for a bounce-back type of year. But no, he's not on my list. As you know, I had Ty Montgomery as my biggest bust of the year, I think. Actually, I think the biggest name that will bust will be discussed on a future podcast related to wide receivers, but we'll get to that. Paul Perkins. Don't see Paul Perkins doing anything that everybody thinks he's going to.
The thing with Paul Perkins is I don't think he's a bust because the volume is going to be there, and the defense is going to have to worry about Shepard, Marshall, Odell, and Ingram, who I think also could be a potential tight end sleeper. I just think unless he loses, who's he going to lose a job to? That's the thing, and he's going to get touches, and he's not like you're drafting him high. You're drafting him the 14th round.
Well, sure. I just think it's going to be a pass-heavy team. I mean, he's not going to be. No, he's going around the 7th round.
Is he on what site?
I think I pulled these off of Yahoo this morning, but I can double check.
My understanding, maybe different websites have different things, and our traditional
Paul
league
Perkins.
has been on Yahoo for a while, so we do use that. But let's hear it. Paul Perkins, average draft position.
28.
28, maybe the 28th running back off the board. I don't know exactly.
Draft position 32.
For running backs?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, 32nd running back up the board. So that would put him at the wide receiver 3-4, more at the 4 line. I still think that. I think that's good. I think he's an RB3. I think that might even be lower. I'm a little higher on Paul Perkins, though. My next bust, and I think Mitchell agrees with me on this one, I think Tevin Coleman, his current average draft position, according to Fantasy Pros, is 69. So you're spending a 6th or 7th round pick, or maybe an 8th on him. Not worth it. He's not a starter. Devonta Freeman is good. He's really good. He's not going to bust. People keep saying he's going to bust, I think, every year. And I think finally this is a year where it's like, okay, Tevin Coleman will not have the same numbers as last year. He's being drafted like he is going to. And I think essentially if you draft on him, you're waiting on Freeman to get hurt. What do you think, Mitchell?
Just to backtrack just a little bit, Paul Perkins is getting taken in around the 8th round. Is his average draft.
8th round?
But yeah, with Tevin Coleman, I completely agree. I think that Devontae Freeman's too good to lose the job. And if he does, it has to be injury or suspension of some sort. So I think Tevin Coleman really has more potential as being one of those surprise trades throughout the year. I don't think they will. I'm just saying that's something I can see happening.
Right.
But I think it's much too high for him. I don't even have him really on much of my draft kits and anything I want to go for.
Baltimore could really use Tevin Coleman.
Exactly.
Baltimore, if you're listening, go get Tevin Coleman. This next one is, I thought it'd be cool. The last thing that we'll end the podcast here with is if we picked one of the first round running backs that we thought are top 10 in our top 10 rankings, who has the biggest bust potential of those first and second round drafted running backs. I think for me, the one with the biggest bust risk is Melvin Gordon.
Same. Yeah.
And I think that it's because of an injury risk and just looking at his numbers from the rookie year to the sophomore year, that jump from 0 touchdowns to I think he had 12 last year. That's a big jump up, and I don't know if he's going to be able to replicate that or not. I'm not saying I don't think he will. I think he's going to have a great season. I potentially could end up drafting him in my league, but I just think there's a lot of risk that goes with that, and typically you don't want to risk that first round pick.
I agree with that, but just to kind of,
before I bite my own tongue here, I kind of want to explain the way that I'm thinking for my secondary running back bust candidate. Just looking at the past couple of years here, Devontae Freeman, right, has been amazing. He's been very consistent in the actual NFL and in fantasy. But Tevin Coleman doesn't go away. And he keeps coming back and making big play after big play. So, realistically, if Devontae Freeman doesn't come out of the gun, like, say 3 games in, he's struggling, I could see him being a huge bust because I think the Atlanta Falcons, as like an organization, loves Tevin Coleman. I mean, they dropped him for a couple weeks there back in 2015. I remember this, and they stopped playing him. Devontae Freeman went crazy, but then he came right back. And last year, I mean, he still got a lot of touches for how successful Devontae Freeman was when he saw the ball.
That offense was so good. And I think Tevin Coleman's role will still be there. I don't see Freeman going away because they're about to sign him to an extension right now. They're in talks about that.
Right, I agree. I'm just saying
get
potential for it. You know?
I could see that. I guess I could see that. If I had to pick one more, I would say I'd probably say Jordan Howard has a little bit of bust potential. Just because if that offense is really bad, who knows if the defense can stack 8 in the box. Although I think Mike Lennon's pretty decent, better than Cutler was.
There's always a successful running back in Chicago. There has been for the past 9 years.
This is true, but
even when Matt Forte was on his way out the door, Jamie Langford showed a whole bunch of promise.
I don't know.
And when he didn't work out, Jordan Howard took over.
My concern is, does Jordan Howard play the role of Todd Gurley last year and have a good first season and then bust in the second because defenses know what's coming?
They did almost have identical stats in their rookie years.
Did they?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I could see that happening. Okay, so we're gonna wrap this up here, guys. Thanks for listening to our first podcast. Make sure to listen to us when we send them out. We're going to get this a little more organized in the future, get on iTunes, hopefully maybe SoundCloud, whatnot. I think we're going to post this first one on Facebook, and hopefully you give us your feedback. It's been a pleasure having to do this. We'll see you again next week, guys.
Peace out.
Girl Scout.